Go.
Hey folks, it's Jake here at Ninja Fit in DeSoto, Kansas again with Haley Smith from Marquette Physical Therapy, also DeSoto, Kansas. She's got another stretch for us today that's really supposed to kind of work and rock our hips a little bit and all that. She was saying this works like the front of the hip, the side and the back, everything, for range of motion, strength a little bit in that, and this would help like for martial artists doing kicks and all that. Is this another one of those things that's going to be able to let us help hold that kick up and just kind of keep it there, whatever, the strength building of it?
Yeah, so I like this one because it's working the hip stabilizer muscles, kind of like the smaller muscles that we don't use on just a regular basis and that aren't worked with normal everyday movements. But it also gets your core and your hips working together at the same time, which is super important when you're kicking because you gotta have a stable center for the leg to move well. So this one is like a side plank press up, and then we're adding a hip rainbow to it. So I start here on my side. We're gonna do the planks on the knees because the form just tends to be better. A full side plank with your feet straight is pretty hard, but I want really good form with this. The elbow goes right under your shoulder. I start with my knees a little bit forward and I press forward and up into the side plank. And you don't want your hips down, you want them in line. You want to be a straight line here. Once you're here, you straighten the top leg. You can start forward and then you rainbow your hip around. A lot of people tend to open up their hips like this, and that's just cheating because we're not using our glutes, we're just turning to get our leg back instead of really using our posterior glute here.
Keep it straight, keep it.
And you just keep everything in line. And this really burns out this glute too, because this one is holding you up and then this one is moving your leg. So it's important to do it on both sides so you get both legs equally.
Okay, and that matches kind of when we do one of our kicks, especially that we work on. You know, they have like our karate people might call it a roundhouse kick or whatever, round kick that comes from the side. I tell them that that's the goal, is to have their body in a straight line and stuff. And that's a really, I find that for my students, that's a hard position because they all want to tuck their butt back behind them and just cheat their kicks a little bit. But getting those hips forward is a good challenge for them. Okay, so don't start. I was trying that earlier. I was trying to start kind of everything in a straight line and just pushing up. But you find it easier to kind of go up and forward.
You definitely can start just in a line and come straight up. I just think it cues your brain to kick on a little bit more of your glute if you're pushing up and forward.
Okay.
You eventually get to the same spot, but I think going into it, the bottom glute will kick on more.
Okay. Okay, so elbow under my shoulder.
Elbow under your shoulder.
Up
push
and
the hips
forward.
Up and forward.
So does this look straight enough?
That looks good.
And then out, or start maybe
you can
forward.
start here and then hip rainbow around.
And does it matter how high? Like, am I trying to go really super high? Because that feels like that takes it out of a zone that I'm looking for.
When you go too high, if you go too high, your hips drop down. You want to keep the hips up. So that's the key for that one, is when your form starts to fail, you're either going too high or you're getting too tired. Okay.
And you said, like, as a physical therapist, you do this not just for martial arts people, you teach this drill for other people. They come into you and they're already sore or hurting from maybe a car accident injury or some sort of other tweak or injury, something that they've got going on. So, you know, how would this help the normal average Lady Jane or average Joe or something at home?
I use this with my high school athletes because a lot of them, they can't get their core and their hips to work together at the same time. And just core is not addressed in sports in high school as much as I think it should be. So I really like this one for stabilization. But I also use this with low back pain or hip pain. Whether it's tendonitis of your glutes, hip bursitis, a disc issue in your back, any type of spine-ish, like low back pain, spine issue. I love this one. It's a harder one though. A lot of people really struggle with this, so it's more advanced in my world.
And just go until you start slowing down or until your form starts dropping and it's not as clean anymore, right? Because I've worked with people. I worked with a personal trainer one time that made me go to like absolute failure, and to the point where my body was shaking, and then I just like I ended up kind of curled up on the floor like ah, and I was almost in tears. I couldn't move for like 5 to 10 minutes after one specific exercise he had me doing for a while. So it doesn't need to get that bad, but whenever I feel like, okay, now it's slowing down and okay, because I want to come back and try this again. Like this is something that's safe to do every day, right? Like once a day, something like that,
Yeah.
for a few seconds, few minutes, whatever you can muster up to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you start to feel your form failing, like your hips start dropping or your hips start turning, or your leg is starting to get real tired and you're like, man, I just don't know if I can lift this anymore, and the leg starts to slow down, that's your cue to stop, switch to the other side. You can go to like the next few exercises, and if you want to do a circuit, you can come back to it, but you should be able to come back to it and do it well with good form.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Cool.